previous generation controller compatibility on the PlayStation 5 has been a bit fascinating. Despite my testing and previous videos breaking down on what works and what doesn't, it's not all cut and dry as Sony would have wanted you to think. Now I learned that some games basically nullify my research and adds another layer of how the compatibility protocol works. I'm the Phantom Knot, and we are getting through the bottom of this. Before we get to it, let's break down on what's known so far. The gist is that the DualShock 4 works on the new console, but only with PlayStation 4 games. When booting up a native PS5 game with the DualShock 4, third-party DualShock 4-like controllers, and unlicensed controllers, a message will display indicating incompatibility. Officially licensed special controllers like arcade sticks and racing wheels do work on native PS5 games. You can find a list in the description below where I tested and researched the compatibility of PS4 era controllers of multiple types. Not everything works, but you might have something that does. Recently, I saw a post on r/FightStick subreddit where someone asked how the Brook Universal Fighting Board with the Up5 add-on board establishes compatibility on the new system. They were wondering if it was using the special controller protocol as mentioned, or is regarded as a truly native PS5 controller. They provided a link to a Google Docs spreadsheet with a list of native PS5 games and their compatibility with the CRONUS Zen device. I saw that the Zen works similarly to some of the compatible controllers during my research. It's apparently using the same special controller protocol. That said, not all PS5 games worked with the Zen according to the list. A handful of games including Battlefield 2042, Call of Duty Vanguard, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege, Far Cry 6, Ghost of Tsushima, and Deathloop have tested for incompatibility. If the Zen is having issues, I needed to know if it's the same for officially licensed special controllers and the UFB. For testing, I used a Razer Pantera arcade stick, Razer Orion controller, Tremba Obsidian arcade stick, and a modded Hori Fighting Edge arcade stick featuring the UFB of 5 boards. The first 3 are officially licensed, while the 4th utilizes custom proprietary PCBs by Brook. As for control subjects, I went with the PS5 version of Guilty Gear Strive and Death Stranding Director's Cut. As of this video's release, both games recognize all the controllers fine and inputs worked correctly. The first game I tried and found to be incompatible on the Zen was Warframe. All my controllers ended up having the same incompatibility. No inputs were recognized at all, sadly. What's interesting is that the notification prompt of a disabled controller was not immediately shown upon startup, but rather after going to the PS5 menu and returning. While that game is free to download, I also tried a game on the list that's both paid and marked incompatible, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. No surprise, the controllers didn't work and the message was the same. My best guess here is that there are 2 compatibility checks at work. For the first, every PlayStation 5 game will allow special controllers in, while those incompatible will trigger the disabled message upon startup. Then there's a second check where it can only allow dedicated PS5 controllers to work. This check in particular is probably opt-in that developers can use. This check can be enabled in patches as well, which occurred on Warframe for example. While this is something Sony on their pre-release blog didn't mention, I can guess the possible reasons why they have this layer. One can be to minimize cheating in multiplayer games with controllers that can have macros or other questionable features. I can somewhat understand that some games may utilize aspects of the DualSense where it might not work properly on other controllers. Some games like Death Stranding and Astro's Playroom have DualSense features yet is compatible with special controllers however. In a practical sense, you are very unlikely going to play Call of Duty Vanguard on a Razer Pantera arcade stick where you need to utilize both analog sticks normally for example. If you have a certain PS4 controller you want to use on a particular game, you could always play the PS4 version on PS5. Unless it's Fortnite. Coming from the fighting game scene, I came to expect that developers will be more friendly with previous generation arcade sticks and similar controllers as Mortal Kombat 11, Guilty Gear Strive, and the King of Fighters 15 has special controller compatibility. However, the beta for the as of unreleased DNF Duel landed with PS5 players reporting incompatibility for their older sticks and other compatible controllers. It seemed that either developers Arc System Works or A-Ting opted in disabling support. Thankfully, the Twitter account for DNFD acknowledged the issue and will be adding special controller compatibility for its summer 2022 release. Players at the least were able to try the beta using the PS4 version. Aside from that minor blunder, I don't see support being disabled for these games as well as others that mainly utilize digital inputs anytime soon. Once people are able to easily obtain PlayStation 5s in the future, restricting controller access for these type of games would be a bad idea. If it does happen again, let the publisher or developer know and it'll probably be alleviated. If for some reason you want to use a compatible racing wheel in an upcoming fighting game, then you damn should. Maybe a bit contradictory for my Call of Duty on an arcade stick statement, but at the least you could use a D-pad from a wheel. This second check makes any upcoming PS5 game a coin toss for special controller compatibility. While I'm hopeful in not seeing this being utilized in a more significant scale, at least you're aware of what can happen. Until next time, thank you for watching.